This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. The Middle Ground Mike is fighting for truth and unity. Subscribe now or support us today. Links are in the notes. Stand with us. Stop, listen. Epstein files, the Congress vote, all that happening this week. Stay tuned and check this out. Google Trends is going crazy over Epstein files, client list, Congress vote. CBS and ABC confirm the vote is happening this week, along with the New York Post. And all three are claiming that a bipartisan alliance forced this to the floor. You know, Time magazine is reporting that there's rumors that the leadership delayed the swearing in because they were afraid about losing control. We're going to dive into all of it. And you, Middle Ground, asked me for a follow up on some of our previous stuff. So tonight we're diving into everything: the vote, the rebellion, the victims, the Google Trends explosion, the political fallout, and one truth: transparency should have no political party. What's actually happening on Tuesday? Let's start with what leadership seems to have hoped you weren't tracking. Like, I don't know how they didn't notice you weren't. You know, for months, the Epstein Files Transparency Act was dead because the House leadership, let's be fair, middle ground, right? Republicans buried it in the committee. We should have been pushing it. You know, but then a rare thing happened. A discharge petition hit 218 signatures on November 12th. The 218 signature came from Aldit, I will not butcher her name, a Democrat whose swearing in was delayed until the very last minute. You know, once a discharge petition hits 218, leadership loses all control and the bill must go to a vote. You know, CBS has reported a Tuesday vote is now being set to determine whether the DOJ must release 90 days worth of Epstein-related documents. This isn't a Congress-led moment. It's a people's forced moment. That's why it's happening. Here's a little bit before we go into the no one. Check this clip out from the Daily Caller about what Stephen A. Smith had to say. You know, Stephen A. Smith's not wrong. Some of these releases definitely do seem targeted because they're only after one person who Democrats don't like. It shouldn't, regardless who you are, party, no nothing. It should have all just came out. And then on top of it, it was a very misrepresented email that came out. Why do we have to do that? We shouldn't need to do those things. You know, but Massey and Kana, the strangest, honest alliance that it's appearing to be in Washington. This might be the only duo in Congress that seems to genuinely care about the transparency aspect. You know, Massey, a libertarian Republican, he likes to call himself, has been the loudest voice demanding the release, and rightfully so. Everybody agrees with him, and same with Rep. Khanna, you know, from California, a progressive Democrat. Is his unlikely ally because they're like, hey, because you want to know why they can do it? Because they are for sure that, or at least nobody's told them that who gives them money, and they are not part of it. So why not release it, right? You know, I'm all for it. Release, just put whatever is out there, and just let it roll. You know, there's no reason why we shouldn't, right? It's if you don't got, you know, like they always try to tell us, right? If you don't got nothing to hide, what are you worried about? Well, that same goes for Congress. You know, that's not exclusive to them. You know, they have to understand that. You know, that's everybody has to be transparent. You know, they want us to be. So, you know, they've built quite the bipartisan coalition. Reformers, populists, independents, and moderates have all joined on. This is a force. This is what happens when the people are truly caring about something. Is it moving a lot slower than pretty much almost everybody involved would have liked to have happened? Yeah, it is. It's a shame. Shouldn't have taken this long, but it's happening. You know, they've built, you know, a lot of Democrats have quietly built a lot. You know, think Republicans will get exposed. You know, Republicans quietly think Democrats will get exposed. That means they're both sides are terrified, and people that support them may be linked. People that give a lot of money may be linked. I'm not saying who, what is, or when, because I don't know. But what I'm saying is when you've got people that are worried to this degree over that, there's generally a reason, right? You know, when both parties fear the same vote, that's when Americans deserve the most truth. And we should not settle for anything less when it comes to that. I mean, come on Tuesday, we're really going to hopefully get this pushed through and get it done. Let's just get it done, get it over with. Stop making it about political partisan. Stop releasing clips for the person you don't like and this, that, and the other thing, whether, da da da, because then a Republican came out the other day, an influencer, oh, he released, two can do that game. Literally, he said something of that nature. It's like, just release all of it. All of it. Stop making it a political partisan game. It just needs to stop. You know, libertarian. It's crazy that Thomas Massey is the reason a voice where I agree with him on some things, but not on a lot. But man, the guy who used to be considered the crazy one in the room is now the sanest one in the room. And I believe he's doing it for political gamesmanship, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong one bit. He's right to ask for the release of everything, regardless. Until certain things happen, that's when he kind of started to pick up on it. My only issue with it. And then let's talk a little bit about why it seems like Trump is trying to block it, right? Like, why would he ran on this? But this is where things get a little bit more uncomfortable for people on the right and MAGA supporters. And I'm not trying to be anti-Trump, no nothing, so stop with that. If you're going to post that, just keep on going. Trump has privately pressured Republicans reportedly to not support the release. His team is arguing it could be weaponized heading into 2026. That goes just back to, they're weaponized this, right? Just like the shutdown was weaponized. Look at even a lot of the Democrats that were opposed to the government being reopened again, even after that. Look, they are mad because they lost their bargaining chip. Your shutdown was a bargaining chip for the parties. It's not about your benefits like they try to make it out to be. It was a bargaining chip for power. That's what it was. It was not about you. It was a bargaining chip for power in elections. Proof is in the pudding. They it could be weaponized, and it probably will. And to be honest, if you've done something like to that nature to where you're in those documents, it probably should make sure you don't get reelected. So that's a little nerve wracking there if you're on the right. Trump says Epstein had nothing to do with him, but photos, logs, and past statements complicate that narrative. I don't think we've gotten a complete clear picture yet. I mean, like I've seen things out there kind of leaking to him, but I haven't seen anything me personally that says, okay, hey, he did do ABC with ABC. And just like if it was you in the court of law, no final judgment until we know. A DOJ memo under Trump claiming no client list exists only made the public more suspicious. Well, duh, you ran on it. Oh, big part of his platform, Bangino, Pam Bondi, Trump, Vance, big part. And all of a sudden, wait, we all forgot. Well, now you look just as guilty as the previous part. You did it to yourself. You shouldn't have been so concerned with it if you weren't going to do nothing about it. Look at, when Trump and Elon had their little tit for tat in the public eye, Elon was saying Trump was on there. Now, granted, to be fair, Elon didn't say what he was on there for, but he did say he was on there, and that email kind of proves, it's subjective, right?
Let's take a quick break.
The Middle Ground, Mike, isn't just another podcast. It's a movement for unity, for truth, for a future beyond the left and the right. But movements don't grow without people willing to stand up. Subscribe now on Buzzsprout. Fuel this mission directly on PayPal. Every subscription keeps the fire burning. The links are in the show notes. Be more than a listener. Be part of the Middle Ground. But there obviously is a client list out there, and nobody's just really doing anything with it yet. So we got to fix that part. Why is Epstein trending again? Well, you can't claim to drain the swamp while hiding the swamp's guest list. That kind of makes it a little difficult for people to trust you. Approach trust that you got to do this thing the right way. You have to own up to it. Anybody in your party that's guilty of this, Republican or Democrat, but especially if you're a Republican, you're worried about maintaining control. You need to go after the ones who are guilty of these heinous type acts and nail them against the wall, get them out of Congress, get them out of wherever you feel they are, and move on. Don't protect them. You do so at your own demise in the public eye. And it's wrong. And at that point, you should be kicked out too. Several MAGA line lawmakers, told reporters they got phone calls urging them to back off. Who knows, right? I don't know that, but it makes things look very, very, very suspicious. Like I said, you can't claim to drain the swamp while hiding the swamp's guest list. Talked a lot about in that last 2-3 years about that list, and now all of a sudden nobody wants to do anything with it. You know, um, but the internet is telling Congress exactly what America wants. Let's go over it, right? Let's talk a little bit about how you process that information on the internet. Searches for Epstein files jumped 300% in the last 48 hours. Trending related searches now, right? You can look at Google Trends because you can kind of see where people in America are looking at. Epstein flight logs, new. They want to know the latest. The client list, is it real? The one people are supposed to hearing about, is it real? The Congress Epstein vote, is it actually happening? TikTok creators have millions of views discussing the vote. Duh, it's the hot topic. Of course, everybody's going to talk about it. News outlets, latest, Yahoo, Political, Fox, ABC, they all confirmed interest has surged after new state documents surfaced. Calendars, ledgers, call logs. This is not a partisan spike. Independents are driving most of the search activity politically. Independents. Because people on the right and people on the left, a lot of the people who are concrete, their party is innocent and the other guy's guilty and he's just worse automatically. You don't believe me? Go look at any site that hates the opposite side, and that site, man, they're going to have receipts, and conveniently, their receipts for their side are going to be very, very little. That's what's going on right now. So that's why when you look at Google Trends, things like that, you're noticing that independence and the terms that are being used are terms that independents use when they search. So it's independence driving this. So it's the middle ground. People that are independent, they don't want to be one way or the other. They just want to know. Middle ground type thinkers are driving this push. America's done with some of this stuff. They're done with the secrecy over this and the excuses. The public wants transparency. Just get it done. Let the chips fall where they may and rebuild whatever we've got to rebuild. Just move forward. Make a decision. Move forward. Stop jerking it around. That's what the American public wants. The victims first, right? What does this vote mean for survivors? From what we do know, I'm not inside of any special interest group. Politicians are arguing about optics, but the victims are arguing about justice. The survivors and their lawyers say sealed files protect predators, but not victims. Not all of them say it, but some. Unsealing the files could lead to new civil suits and reopen old ones. So some of the people who did pay people off are nervous they might have to pay more. Some victims were present, during, don't want to say new House rep's name, swearing in, emotional, painful, and symbolic. Their message is clear: stop protecting the powerful in their eyes. Historically, secrecy shielded two groups: wealthy men, politically connected people, not victims. We care about victims here. We center that, not tribes, not parties, not narratives. Just because Trump's on his name's on an email doesn't mean he did something. And just because person A, it could be a Clinton, right? But there's supposed proof that Clinton went there. But what I'm saying is, unless you have concrete proof, it can't just be something that's speculative. And especially, I'm not sure what the point of the email was. I put the facts out there. I got hate on both sides from it. I got hate, man. I got, self-serving, self-promoting. You're left. I got called right. I got called left. No, people, I just literally put what the stated facts were out there. That's all we did. That's all we're going to do. And it's certain things. So we have no reason. If you don't like what we're saying, the facts, come back with your own facts. Do more than just go, ooh, you're bad. Come back with a punch, man. Come back, not physical, but come back with a punch in the comments, man. Be like, no, man, this is wrong. It's ABC. Do something like that. Don't just come there and go, ooh, you're left or right. Like, how boring are you? If you're going to have an opinion, bring something with it, man. Put something in there more than just, and then when I reply and I go, you just all of a sudden vanish. So that just shows you're just mad because you didn't like what you had to hear. No matter which side you're on, get over it. Come back with facts. Let's argue facts and points, not stupid rhetoric. Get over yourselves. But what what have we heard is actually inside of the Epstein files. This isn't a magical client list. It's much worse. It's documentation. Supposedly. Supposedly, the files include flight logs, multiple planes, multi-year logs. 2, visitor logs from the island and other properties. 3, calendar entries revealing interactions and repeated visits. Cash ledgers showing payments, transfers, and services. Deposition, sealed testimony naming names. Email and communications that have been recovered by the investigators. Financial networks and facilitators. 8, possible intelligence overlaps involving foreign nationals. England ring a bell? Somebody just lost their royal status. The question isn't what's in the files. The question is who doesn't want you to see them and why? Everybody's got a secret, but why don't you want someone to see it? What Americans actually want, polling and sentiment. What do we actually want? What is the polling? What are our actions saying? The politicians are scared. That's what our actions are saying. The voters are not. Polls show 70% support full release across both parties. A bipartisan issue. Whoa, America, we got a bipartisan issue here. Like, crazy alert, crazy alert, crazy alert, bipartisan issue that we all support, we can get behind. So stop attacking each other when something comes out for your side. Because you both want the same thing. Just super parts on the extreme don't like our, just no. If it is, it is. Independents, your exact audience here on this show, you guys show 80+% support on revealing this. Gen Z and millennials overwhelmingly want a full unseal. The last one, and the poll should be in the links. Let me look at my notes here. It was 94% between Gen Z and millennials for full transparency. Even Republicans, the GOP, and even within MAGA, not just rhinos, but even MAGA is split because transparency is more important to the base than loyalty, right? Because this is a big thing. This is where I think the president is missing the step. It's a big thing that he ran on this. He did. There's that in the media that made that part up. He ran on it, and everybody was like, yeah, we agree. Who you protecting? America doesn't see this as a left versus right issue. Now, you got the people on the extremes, like some of my comments the other day did, but most of them, they just see it as justice versus power. And they see it as the people in DC protecting their friends and telling all of us we have to live a responsible life. That's how people see it. But in a divided country, transparency is one of the few things we can all still agree on. So let's work with it. Let's use that as a starting point to get some kind of bipartisan atmosphere going so we can get other things done, like maybe some kind of solution to healthcare. Some solutions, right? Okay, hey, we agreed on this. Let's have a celebratory dinner afterwards. Get to know each other. Oh, look, you're not such a bad person after all on the other side of the aisle. All right, now we can get something done in the future. This could be a really big moment for Congress. But really what it boils, it's truth versus team loyalty. Middle ground standard. This is the line political fan clubs. This is the line between political fan clubs and actual principles. I guess that's maybe the best way to say it. You can't demand transparency for the other side and then deny it for your own. You can't claim to protect kids while shielding documents involving crimes against kids. Again, stop. Just because it's your guy doesn't mean the other guy's bad. Or just because it's the other guy doesn't mean that your guy's good. Stop with that. You can't talk about draining swamps while guarding the swamp's visitor logs. Fair game. I've heard that out there a couple times. It's fair game. You can't fix the corruption without exposing corruption. You can't find the middle without at least trying to find the truth. This vote is a character test for Congress and for really all of us. Can we move beyond, literally, there's still people out there sharing that email from the other day, acting like it was still a gotcha moment. When even CNN has come out and retracted it to a degree. Okay, stop. Just stop. There's plenty of reasons for you not to like Donald Trump if you don't like him. You don't have to invent things. Don't have to twist it. People, their own actions will determine that, and then go after those things. Stop manufacturing stuff to do it. Stop trying to cherry pick it and making it as it's the whole thing. That's why you have so much partisanship in this country. All right. Factor Fiction Epstein Files Edition. Their statement 1. There is an official secret client list that the government has been hiding. Answer, supposedly. Fiction. As to our knowledge, there is no singular list that has ever been dropped. But where the assumption for the list comes from is that there are flight logs, calendars, documents that function like one. That's where a lot of that has come from, supposedly. We'll know, hopefully, if they can pass all this. But the DOJ, under the previous administration and this one, have both said that there is no technical formal client list. So I don't know how we would go about that. Factor Fiction number 2. Both Republicans and Democrats appear in Epstein logs. Fact. Documents arguably show powerful names from both parties interacted with Epstein in different contexts. Just to give you an idea, we had the other day, I read that a House Democrat reportedly texted with Epstein during Michael Cohen's congressional testimony. Look that up. I have not seen any of this stuff, but it is supposedly there, so it could have happened. Factor Fiction number 3. The Tuesday vote guarantees the files will be released. Answer, fiction. Even if it passes the House, the Senate can still stall it and Trump can veto it. But I think it actually has enough support for even if Trump does want to, this can be overturned by Congress. Fact or fiction? Victims want the files sealed to protect their privacy. Fiction. To a degree. A majority of victims have come out and support releasing the files with redactions only for their own names. That is, not everybody's on that boat, though, to be fair. Fact or fiction number 5. This is the first time a discharge petition has been used successfully in years. Fact. Discharge petitions almost never reach 218 signatures. This is extremely rare. That's why I was saying this is a partisan time. We can use it to foster more stuff down the road. But if you believe transparency beats tribalism, hit subscribe. If you believe victims deserve justice, follow us on Spotify. And if you believe sunlight destroys corruption, share this episode right now to someone you know who would enjoy it. And help support us. Donate to the show. Sign up for the newsletter. Buy some merchandise. Got a nifty hoodie. Got some hats. We got coffee cups. We got mugs. You name it. We got pens. We got these nifty little pens we're going to have on there. Man, we got a bunch of cool stuff. Create a gift basket for Christmas. Everything I covered, every source, link, receipt is in the show notes / fact sheet, including our full, Epstein email fact sheets that we have gathered. Again, that will be as current as of November 16th. So again, if something changes in a week, it may not be completely accurate on that sheet that you see. It will update over time, but just in case, throwing that out there so nobody comes after me. Not that really bothers me, but thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, I appreciate you guys. And, even if you want to hate on me because you think if I have an opinion that makes me left or right, but you know what? To me, finding in the middle means you can have a little bit of both, or you can be one, you can be other on different issues. It can be. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the whole purpose. We're trying to find a middle ground. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. No left, no right, forward.